We've just begun looking at Joshua, and we're looking at chapter 2 today. The people are not yet in the land. They're just on the border, still on the east side of the Jordan River, not yet ready to cross. And so chapter 2 kind of sets us up for the future. And this is the story of two spies that are secretly sent out, it says in verse 1, to go into Jericho, spy out the land, especially Jericho. And so they're sent out by Joshua. Perhaps they're sent out because as you recall earlier, spies had been sent into the land, 12 spies. They came back with a bad report to Moses and the people got fearful, and they didn't want to go into the land, and therefore they wandered in the wilderness for the next 4 decades. So maybe Joshua wanted to make sure that didn't happen this time. So secretly he sends these two guys, and they're picked up by a gal named Rahab, who is a harlot or a prostitute, in verse 1. Now, why they would go to her house, we don't know. It would be kind of normal for visiting men who would come into a new town like this, if they were going to go anywhere, to go to the house of a prostitute. Maybe people wouldn't question that. How they got involved with Rahab, I'm not sure. Perhaps Rahab recognized they were from the outside, recognized what was going on, and invited them to come to her place. Perhaps it's totally of God. I don't know, but we know Rahab is a very different person than everybody else in the town. So she takes them to her house, verse 4, and she hides them because somebody has seen them, and these two guys, they know they're Israelites somehow, and they know that they have gone to Rahab's house. So the officials come to get them in verse 4, but she's hidden them underneath some flax on the rooftop, and they're not found. So she rescues them at this point. And of course, this is a very well-known story. But where it gets very interesting is in verse 8. She's going to let them down. She lives on the wall, on the city wall. Her apartment, her house is there. So she's going to let them down out of her window. But as she does that, verse 8, and out of the roof, actually. Verse 8, she said, the men said, I know that the Lord has given you that land, or she said, and the terror of you has fallen on us, that all the inhabitants of the land have melted away before you. For we have heard how the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea before you went out and came out of Egypt, and what you did in the two kings of the Amorites, who are beyond the Jordan, to Sihon and Og, whom you have utterly destroyed. When we heard it, our hearts melted, and no courage remained in any man any longer because of you. For the Lord your God, He is the God in heaven above and on earth beneath. Now, this is a unique account here. For 40 years, the people of Jericho, as well as the people in the land of Canaan, knew about what God had done for Israel, that He had brought them out of Egypt in a miraculous way, dried up the Red Sea, and so forth. And now they also know the victories on the east side of the Jordan River. God had miraculously brought about those victories. And it says here that their hearts had melted. Matter of fact, verse 9 and verse 10 says that. Verse 11 says that. Verse 24 speaks of the same thing. They are petrified. But all that had happened, what they realized when the Lord is God, verse 11, is all it did was cause them to have fear. That was their response. They were afraid. They knew that God was with these people, and they were afraid. So most of the people, virtually everyone, simply responded in fear. Rahab responded in faith. And she knew, and they all had the same options. They had all the same information. She knew that the Lord was God, and He's the only God in heaven and earth. And therefore, she, by faith, turned to the Lord, as Hebrews chapter 11 tells us. Now, she lets them down as she promised to do. They told her, verse 18, to tie a scarlet cord in the window, and when they come, she would be spared. She did that in verse 21. And when the people come to Jericho, she and her household are spared. And we're also reminded that later on that she'll be the mother of Boaz, who's in the line of David, and also in the genealogy of Jesus Christ, according to Matthew chapter 1. This woman is not only saved physically, she is saved spiritually. She is redeemed. What a picture of salvation. Knowing the message, responding in faith, being rescued because of that by God's grace, versus all the other people who suffered the wrath and the judgment of God because they knew the truth and rejected it. This is the gospel in a nutshell in Joshua chapter 2.